Explain Eli5 what makes a stealth fighter harder to detect than a regular plane. They're shaped in a way and made of certain materials that help deflect radar beams. A normal plane will reflect back a radar signal and be a nice big obvious plane on the radar screen. A stealth place redirects and also absorbs some of the beam, so that only a small amount is returned. From what I remember, stealth planes are either invisible or a lot of times looks like the size of a bird on a radar. Combine that with modern radar detection camera systems of its own, so that it can stay way far away from its targets anyways. I think that's basically what makes them stealthy. Take a tennis ball and throw it straight at a wall. It will bounce back at ya. Take the same ball and throw it at a slanted wall. It will bounce somewhere else. Take it and throw at the sand. It will be absorbed. F-117 uses those slanted angles to deflect. Modern stealth is like the sand and will absorb and deflect somewhat. Stealth aircraft are covered in radar-absorbent materials RAM that absorbs most radar waves. And the shapes of the aircraft also help deflect radar waves away from the direction they came from, preventing the radar from seeing any waves bouncing back to it. The RAM does most of the work, but not all of it. The shape of the plane redirects some of the radar energy waves away from the plane but not back towards the radar tracker. The material of the plane coating absorbs some of the radar energy waves so they don't bounce back towards the radar tracker. If it works well, the radar system doesn't detect that a plane is there. If it don't work so well, the radar tracker registers that there's an insect or something. Radar waves, just like light, can be reflected, refracted and scattered. The shape and material of a stealth plane reflect the radar waves away from the radar emitter. Instead of a radar signal bouncing off the plane and returning to the transmitter, the radar waves bounce off the plane and scatter. This way the radar doesn't detect the plane. Radar uses radio waves, which is basically invisible light. So, how stealthy something is measure of how shiny or not it is. You can make the plane, for example, less shiny by painting it with black paint. By making it such a shape as it doesn't reflect the light back towards you. Or by making it out of transparent material. Or some combination of all three. The shape and materials of a stealth plane don't echo radar waves. Radars send waves. Blobby metal things bounce them back. Operationally speaking, is stealth still a thing? They hang missile rails and fuel tanks off the wings. The stealth aircraft are defined to fly at high altitudes, fly fast, and fly quietly, as well as have an odd shape to deflect a radar signal in such a way that it does not return to the source. This is what makes the aircraft so hard to detect through conventional methods. The shape and material of the special CHAD plane scatters radar, and it makes it hard to determine what the object is. Nice try, spy. We aren't telling our military secrets or the nuclear launch codes at 12,345 shush. It's the same way black paint makes it hard to see things at night. Light doesn't bounce off the black paint, so you can't see it. I was told in the 90s that they used volcanic ash in the paint. And the tiny crystals scatter the radar waves, acting as a prism. Not sure whether or not this is accurate, but it makes sense. Side note. The Gulf War pilots were nervous about going on combat sorties with the new technology until they saw dead bats on the hangar floors in the morning. They figured if it can fool the bats, it can fool radar. I am no expert, but as I understand it, in the simplest terms, The way planes are detected has to do with the way its surface reflects signals. The skin of stealth craft muffle the signals. The shape of them reflects the signals in ways that are harder to detect. When you look on radar, a regular plane looks like a huge blob of mass, but a stealth plane looks like dust that you'd think is just a bird or something you wouldn't take notice of. When I was a kid, I remember watching a stealth bomber flying low over my head, across Lake Washington, toward Boeing Field. It was unsettling how quiet this plane was. Stealth aircraft is truly an engineering marvel. Not sure it is still being used due to weight issues, but at one time iron pentacarbonyl powder made by GAF was used to absorb radar. Radar absorbent material, along with special angles of the wings, fuselage, tail, etc., designed to prevent radar return from going back to the enemy receiver. Stealth aircraft have special shape. Special shape avoids radar. Stealth aircraft avoids radar. Stealth aircraft undetected. Stealth aircraft successful. My great-uncle actually helped design the first bomber plane. So I've been told. Apparently he was the actual guy who figured out what to do to stop the radar signals from bouncing back properly. Basically, there are no 90-degree angles on the plane. The radar signal cannot bounce back properly because of this. It's that simple.